Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Wow. Happy Wednesday. Oh, Thursday. Happy Thursday. You would think I would know it's Thursday since I do this every Thursday. My name is Dawn Z. Manafusco, and I'm a life coach for writers and creatives. I specialize in working with men and women over 40 who are writing true stories, and that can be for memoirs, for manifestos, blogs, short stories, essays, compilations, websites, business, pleasure, you name it. I love true stories. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have this on all channels since this is a subject that I think is quite popular, actually, at least in my life and in my clients' lives. So we're going to talk about how to beat writer's anxiety. And by doing so, we're going to also, let's see, how do I do this? Well, let's try it this way. Forgive me, I'm doing all that little stuff that we do when we want to make sure we're on all channels for live. So it is also a good time for me to say, hey, how's everybody doing? Who's out there? I know that it takes people a little bit to jump on. So let's see, I'm going to share this on my timeline. Live now. How to beat writers' anxiety. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Right with me. So I have a new format for those of you that are out there listening. I used to have the format where, well, I had a couple of different ones. One was where we would do about 45 minutes with 15 minutes of writing in there where I would just tap and write. And then that went on to become 30 minutes of writing. And then it became 30 minutes of writing and then me reading what I wrote. And now it's kind of been decided to make it easy for everyone here that I'm going to do a half hour and I'm going to leave you with a prompt and I'm going to come back and post what I've done on that prompt. Okay, let's see. Hold on. I'm working on getting all of this working for you. Let's see. One more place I got to share it because I get in trouble when I don't share in my writers group. Lots of trouble. I get in lots of trouble. Just kidding. Okay. Ta-da. Done. Now, here we are. Okay. So, I'm so excited, as you can tell, to offer this class, this actual lesson. So, it's about instructions for writers and for life. And what I mean by lessons for writers in life, or however you want to think about it, is you can take writing and substitute that for working out, for health, for love, for relationship, and for life. I feel like writing is this amazing art, an amazing process where you could utilize pretty much, other than the specifics of the craft of writing true story, which I'm going to go into a lot in the upcoming weeks, but the general lessons on writing and how to get through to the reader or how to embrace writing, you kind of can map that to so many aspects of life, and that's just really exciting. So I'm just going to jump in and talk about why I love this particular subject, and I want to make sure that I fulfill my promises here because at least I hope I scheduled everything properly. Here it is. Okay, so I want to go on about this anxiety thing, and we're going to have fun. Before we do that, let's set the stage, huh? Let's set the stage. A little bit of a deep breath in. And out. Wherever you are right now. I don't care if you're driving. Well, actually, I do care if you're driving. Don't shut your eyes. But you can do this while you're driving. You can do this anywhere you are, even if you're sneaking it on a headphone at work or something. Just take a deep breath in, one more with me, and then just let it out. This one breath that you take with me today is going to help so much. And I'll explain more about that too. So let's do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in and out. And as simple as that is, a simple deep breath in and out any time of day can alleviate your anxiety by, it can actually eradicate it completely for those moments and actually not even come back as strong, or it can for sure lessen it. So I do hope that we all did a nice deep breath there. So let's dive in. So how about me and anxiety? For those of you that have known me personally or have met me, you can see that I'm a bundle of energy. And if you do know me personally, you know that that energy can go south, meaning all that awesome energy can switch on a dime and become extreme anxiety. And that's what anxiety is. So I want us to embrace for a moment that anxiety is energy. It's just energy gone bad. And when I say that, I don't mean permanently bad. I mean for the moment, it's working against you. Many studies have been done, and it's in the book, The Big Leap. You can look it up online, that fear, when we're afraid, we tend to have shallow breathing. We breathe more from the upper part of our chest. And for those of you that have had anxiety or a panic attack, you definitely know what I mean. It's like there's this chokehold on you, and your chest gets really tight. You actually start to breathe only from the top of the chest, and then the next thing you wind up doing is thinking all these terrible thoughts. The body just goes, oh shit, what's going on? I'm in fight or flight. Something is wrong. Alarm bells are sounding. It's going to be bad. And that's actually, and I'll go into what the brain does a little bit. And the amygdala, when the amygdala detects any kind of danger, even if it's not really there, if you've convinced yourself there's danger, whoo, that shit's flying. Everything is just bad news, right? But what they found out is that when you're excited, so say you're getting on a roller coaster, you're getting married, you're getting ready for your trip, you're approaching the plane because you're going, to one of your favorite places. For me, that would be Hawaii. You get excited. Guess what happens? Physiologically, the same thing. You're going to breathe a little bit from the top of your chest. You might feel a little bit of tension, but you've associated now this tension and this faster breathing with excitement. If you get a little bit contracted, because they're like, oh my God, right? You have a little kid who gets so excited. Have you ever seen, I've seen some amazing things in my life with children. I was a preschool teacher. I've worked with children, younger ones, for a long time. And I babysit and stuff like that. And when a child gets excited, oh, it's the best, but they contract, right? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Ah! You see girls get excited seeing each other. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And all of this is the same physiological effect that panic and anxiety have when, because that would be the negative. Excitement on one side, panic and anxiety on the other. So you go, and you get this thing, and you're like, oh my God, and then you're like, oh, something is wrong, right? So just so you know, let's just look at anxiety and panic as energy that has switched over to the negative, okay? So it's the same energy in the negative zone, meaning bad, horrible, feels like hell. It really is just the most terrible, horrible thing ever, as far as I'm concerned. Friends, it really is. I would say there's a lot of bad things out there, but anxiety and panic, totally annoying. So on this side is excitement, is love, is positivity, is surprise. You've got all this other stuff. So we've got the same thing being perceived in a different way. All right. So we've got this thing called anxiety. I suffer greatly from anxiety and panic. Ooh, it makes me a little emotional when I said that out loud. Crazy. So weird. Energy and emotions are so strange. So yeah, it's the truth. And in my coaching world, when I'm working with a client and they get a little bit emotional, anytime you get a little bit emotional, there's a truth there. There's a deep, deep, deep truth there. So I have this deep truth where I suffer from anxiety and panic. And it comes on, as I've aged, it's gotten worse, which sucks because you would think that as you age, you get wiser and anxiety gets easier. I think that there is a truth to it getting easier after you hit like a breaking point. I feel like I've hit a couple of severe breaking points in my life. Recently was one of them. And you just get so sick of it. You get to a point where you just want to conquer it. You're like, okay, listen, I'm in charge. I've had enough. And what I was holding on to was that I thought I was doomed for life. I remember lots of doctors have diagnosed me with GAD, general anxiety disorder. And they just say like, and I've heard this 1,000 times. They say, oh, you're going to have this for life. This is just something you're going to have to deal with forever. And they don't really give you a whole lot of options. They put me on benzos for a while, for like 7 years as a total. Like I was on and off of them. And I thought I was doing the right thing because various doctors had suggested it. Turns out it was the worst thing that I could have ever done to myself. And now they know that. All these studies have come out about how terrible, terrible benzos are. If you don't know what a benzo is, it's a Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, something like that. And what they do is it actually causes worse anxiety. So the irony is that though it's a quick fix, in the long run, you wind up having worse and worse and worse anxiety and panic attacks. So I said, okay, that's not going to work. And it was a gift because since I no longer had a way to soothe the anxiety with a chemical, I had to figure out a way that I needed to soothe myself without the chemical. Now, let's talk about writing. If there's one situation where anxiety can get way out of hand, it's when you're alone in a room trying to write, or you're alone anywhere trying to write, and your inner critic comes in and tells you how terrible you are. Now, in writing, this is sort of similar to life, right? When anxiety comes out, all you're hearing is about the negative. You're worried that something bad is going to happen. The unknown becomes a really scary place. And the same thing is in writing. All of a sudden, the critic comes in, tells you your writing sucks. You know, you're suddenly afraid, like, what are people going to think? You start to think about the future in a negative way, and this anxiety just takes over. So what I did is I got super, super frustrated with my anxiety on all levels. I got frustrated with my anxiety in my life, and I knew it was seriously affecting my writing. I'm finishing a book, and it was just really affecting me finishing a very awesome short book. It's not even rocket science, but and I realized, here's the crazy part. I realized as I was sitting down to finish my book in the last few weeks and still dealing with my panic and anxiety on just a regular level, I realized that the feelings were like identical. But when I started to map what is it that my critic, my writer is thinking, I started to map, wait, that's what I'm thinking about every other subject ever when I'm having an anxiety and a panic attack. I'm like, whoa, this is so crazy. So writer's anxiety and writer's block and not being able to write for fear of looking like a fool, fear of being judged, all this stuff that I'm actually writing about. The irony kills me. That was what I was writing about and experiencing it. I was like, wow, this actually feels a lot like just my ordinary anxiety that I wake up with sometimes that makes me can't sleep. It's just that all of a sudden when that's happening to me personally, I'm thinking of like, you know, will my business stay profitable? Will my mother be healthy? Will I be healthy? Are my friends going to be okay? I mean, I don't know. I just started thinking about all these what if situations. What if this? What if that? What if this? And so as a writer, I'm thinking the same things. What if it sucks? What if I can't write this? What if I'm stuck? You know, what if somebody reads it and hates it? And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Obviously, anxiety and panic are doing their thing. Well, it was 3 a.m. I'll never forget it. 3 a.m. about a month ago. And I had a panic attack. Not a panic attack. I'd had anxiety with in and out panic attacks for about 3 days straight. Wow. Talk about not being able to function. I mean, I was still going to the gym. I was still doing my life. I was still working. But on the downtime, when I wasn't keeping myself occupied, this tension and this anxiety just wouldn't leave. And I wasn't even sleeping very well at all. And I just hit a breaking point. I just hit this breaking point of, fuck, I want this to go away, you know? And then I just did something that is so simple that I can't believe it worked, which is I grabbed my phone in the middle of the night and I went on Amazon and I searched for anxiety attack. As simple as it was almost like a calling. And a new book came out that has completely changed the landscape of anxiety and the medical profession and how the medical profession, the Western medical profession, treats anxiety, totally changing the landscape worldwide, especially in America. And this guy, Barry McDonough, came up with a book that I've talked about on my favorite books of the year, or of this year that I've been reading, called Dare, The New Way to End Anxiety and Stop Panic Attacks. And I bought it on audio, and I hit play, and I laid in bed, and within minutes, and I'm not even exaggerating here, folks, within minutes, I felt the tension go away. I felt this wash of calm come over me, and I fell asleep. Woke up the next day, started listening to it more, listened to the whole thing in a day, went out and bought the book, and have been helping people ever since with his technique. So I'm going to use this technique, and I'm going to help you get rid of writer's anxiety using the DARE technique. I want you to know that it was Barry McDonough who came up with it, and I'm just mapping it to writing. This shit is gold, okay? This is gold. So I would love it if you shared this with any of your friends that suffer from anxiety or panic. If you know anybody out there, even if they're not writers, and you're like, hey, there's this writing coach, this life coach for writers who has this show and she's talking about this book. I think it would really help you. I'm telling you, they will thank you forever. When you get the book, he also signs you up for his Facebook group. He has a private Facebook group that you have to actually explain what your anxiety is to get in. He doesn't want a bunch of snoopers and a bunch of, scammers in there. So it's a great Facebook group. And he has like emails that he sends you about anxiety, and there's no sales pitch. This guy is awesome. He's not selling anything. His mission is to help the world calm their anxiety. It's that we all have the ability to do that. And I think if there's one thing that gets in the way of success, if there's one thing that gets in the way of your creativity, gets in the way of you moving forward in life, gets in the way of your health, of your exercise, of having better relationships, if there's one thing that does it, it's anxiety. Because anxiety is just a fear of the future, and it's based in a negative feeling. It's based in fear. And when you're not living from a place of love and from a place of possibility, you're being held back. In some way, you're being held back. I know that there's an area of your life where you know you deserve more. And that could be in your relationships, financially, in your career, with your physical health, with your family. There's an area of your life where you know that you deserve more, and you're just curious as to why you're feeling that you're not getting there. And I'll bet if you just, if you get that reason all the way down to its core, it has something to do with fear. It has something to do with fear of the future or some kind of fear factor, and it probably has some anxiety around it. And when you learn how to break free of this anxiety, life is amazing. Now, here's a caveat. It's not like your anxiety is going to go away forever and never come back. It'll come back. I mean, I've been feeling it. I've had little bouts of it, but it lasts so much shorter, and you actually learn how to shift that energy into the positive. All right, so let's do it. This is so exciting. So the DARE technique. I'm going to teach you the DARE technique, and whoa, that's not the DARE technique. Hold on. Let me go find it. Apparently, I forgot to put it where I need it. Here it is. Oh my God. How frustrating is this? All right. I have it right here. Let me do it again. So the DARE technique, sorry about this. I actually almost had it perfect today, but I apparently saved this in a folder. Oh, there it is. Okay. And I just found it. I saved it in the wrong folder. I hate when that happens. I'm usually pretty good. Okay. So how to beat writer's anxiety using the DARE technique. This is weird. How do I do this? Okay. So hopefully you can see that. I believe everybody can see that. Again, please share this with anybody who you feel suffers from anxiety and or writer's anxiety. How many people out there, does anyone want to comment today on, so say, yep, yes, I do, or yep, WEP, yep, if you actually suffer from anxiety for writing specifically and or in other areas of your life. So anybody out there who's got a little bit of anxiety sometimes and it kind of gets in the way? Yep. I try to be as lighthearted about it as I can at this point. Okay, so DARE. So the first one is diffuse. So when anxiety comes up, as simple as this sounds, and I know it's a little too simple sometimes, you say, so what? Because here's the deal. In the book, he actually goes over how you cannot die from a panic attack or anxiety. You won't, if you think your heart's going to stop, it's not. He goes into why it's not going to stop. He goes into how you're not going to choke. He goes into why you're not going to pass out. He goes into all these things that the mind tries to tell you in terms of anxiety that is not true. So all these thoughts about anxiety, going wrong is not true. All the thoughts you have about the future are not even happening. And when it comes to writing, we want to think about it that way. So what's the thing we think about the most when we're writing? Oh, this sucks. So what? Your job isn't to write well. Okay, everybody, take a moment and take this in. As a writer, your job, first and foremost, is not to write well. Your job is to write. Really bad, really shitty first drafts. Anne Lamott, one of her chapters, Bird by Bird, shitty first drafts. Your job is to get it on the page. As a writer, you've been gifted with a desire to write. So stop trying to write well. The best writers in the world fixed it out and they edited it after they wrote it. So in Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert, she goes into it, how God didn't make you a writer to write well. God made you a writer to write. Then you can go back and edit. Then you can go back and play with it. So stop worrying about writing it right. So what if you're not feeling like writing? So what if you're afraid that people aren't going to like it? So what if your critic is bugging you? So what if you have anxiety right now? So what if it's uncomfortable? So what if you want to get up and you want to walk away? So what? That's not the issue. The issue isn't, to worry about all that stuff. And it's going to come up. So what? So what? And I love this. I almost feel like I have this really loving aunt from back east for me. She's got the New York accent and she's like, honey, so what? I had a beautiful, wonderful Aunt Teresa and she loved me. She really, I could do no wrong for her, which is adorable. And I could just see her going, so what? Just keep writing. You're good. So what? We love you, and so I've dubbed this person in my mind the lover. So this is the person who loves me, who loves my writing no matter what. It could be my number one fan. It could be my best friend. It could be my mother. It could be my Aunt Teresa. It could be, my lover, my actual lover. But either way, it's the person I know that would read my work and be so proud that I did it. So I write to the lover. The lover comes in. Remember the critic. The critic is very angry. You're going to do terrible. Da, 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 da. And then I have the lover come in and say, so what? Keep doing it. Don't worry about all that stuff. So I love this part, diffuse. Now, if you're having a serious anxiety attack or panic attack, the so what is, so what if you pass out? So what if you die? So what if you feel like shit? So what if your chest is tight? And you'll notice when you do this first technique, this first part of the technique, you actually feel better instantly. It's really weird. Number 2, allow. Fine, you win. So if the so what comes in, you feel a little bit better, but the next thing is you allow right away. You have to go through the whole DARE technique. So now you go, okay, fine, you win. Cool. Yeah, totally. I'm completely afraid. I am totally stuck. I'm definitely feeling anxious. My writing sucks. I don't even know why I'm doing this. All right, cool, you win. I'm just going to feel like crap. I'm just going to feel all these feelings, feeling all the feels, and come on. And the next thing, bring it on. The R, run towards it. All right, fine. You just sit there and you just feel all that anxiety. And you do. You actually, for regular anxiety, not just writer's anxiety, the fine you win is you just let it come on. You just let that tension in. You let your throat get tighter. You let your breath get more shallow. If you're dizzy, sit down, get even dizzier. I get vertigo sometimes from my panic attacks, so I have to sit down because I actually get off balance. So, okay, fine. Bring it on. Bring it on. Then and I've had to do this in a very serious situation recently where I had such a bad panic attack. I had to actually do this. I had to stand up and start saying it out loud because my heart was racing at such a high level. My blood pressure was super skyrocketing and my heart was racing. It was just a spike. It wasn't anything, I don't have high blood pressure in general. And I could feel the spike. And so you just shift it to the excitement. Remember in the beginning of this, I was telling you how the positive version of anxiety is that it's just excitement. It can actually instantaneously be registered in your mind as a positive. Weirdest thing I ever did, which is going, come on, bring it on. Oh yeah. Oh, I just want to be so anxious. I literally was sitting there. I was like, I'm as anxious as it gets. Oh, I love feeling anxious. I love how my heart is racing. I love this feeling. And you really do. You look ridiculous, by the way. I mean, anybody who's really watching you get over your anxiety using this technique, it's hilarious. I was by myself. I was lucky. I've actually excused myself and used the restroom when I feel my anxiety coming on socially. I just go in the restroom and I do the whole technique really fast. But with writing, bring it on. Sit there with the keyboard. All right, anxiety, I'm just going to feel it. I'm going to feel all your feels. And then as you really just have this hilarious dialogue, which at the time is really not so hilarious, when you have this dialogue with anxiety, thanks, Billy. I'm cracking me up too, so that works. But you honestly, you break it. You just break that anxiety. And I gotta say, it is such an amazing feeling. When you feel that crack happen, you're like, come on. I mean, I got to the point when I had such a serious panic attack. And he does warn you in the book that you might, the brain doesn't like to change. Okay. It fights change. So as you're attempting to shift this anxiety, you may have a panic attack in the next few days after reading the book. It took me a couple of weeks. And when it hits, it's really scary because you think that that's going to be the big one, right? Oh, this is the big one. And I did this technique. And when I felt it switch, I swear I felt like Rocky Balboa doing the knockout punch to that anxiety. I was like, yes, and I was like, I did it. And I really did it. Billy, yes, share it, man. This is awesome. And it was kind of mind-boggling. I remember when I passed through that wall of that panic so easily from doing this technique. And when I say easily, I mean because I finally did it. It took me like an hour of being in a panic attack, maybe less, maybe a half hour being in the panic attack before I tried the technique simply because I'd forgotten, right? So when panic or anxiety grip you, you actually forget that you have tools against it. So in writing, lots of times also when people sit down to write and they suddenly get anxiety, they find themselves already walking away. They'll find themselves in the next room. They'll find themselves at the refrigerator, or they'll find themselves getting another cup of tea. And then they go, whoa, I was writing. And that's because the brain doesn't like anxiety or panic. So it will immediately, try to get you out of it, get you out of sitting down and writing because it doesn't like that feeling. But you gotta get really fine-tuned on the awareness and catch it. And so anyway, I broke through that anxiety and panic. And here's what happened. I didn't know where it went. I actually stood around and I was like, where'd it go? I didn't know what to do with the fact that it was gone. Now think about that one for a second. I was so used to feeling anxiety, so used to my panic attacks that my world became, I mean, it really is, a world where you get used to being unhealthy. It's kind of like the addict doesn't or the drinker, more or less, people who drink and they don't realize that it's getting worse and worse and worse. A lot of people are not, traditional alcoholics. They just suddenly find themselves drinking more, sometimes from stress. That happened to me. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself in a situation where you want to drink more, and then it's actually a negative to you. So anyway, I was so used to living, I don't drink anymore, which is great, but I was so used to drinking. I was so used to drinking. I was so used to having the anxiety and the panic that when it just disappeared after this technique, I actually got spooked out. I was like, wow, where did it go? And I was so happy. I was so afraid it was going to come back, but I was so happy and it didn't come back. So anyway, you run towards it. Bring it on. And then the E, now this is the really important part too. Remember, all 4 of these parts are really important, is the engage. Now for writers, that means start writing. It means no matter what, if you've done the DAR, you got to dive in head first and just start writing wherever you are. Even if you think it sucks, even if it's not exactly what you want to say, just start writing. And you could start writing with the sentence, what am I trying to say? Or I'm trying to say, what is it I'm trying to say? Oh, what I'm trying to say is. You just start asking yourself these questions and then answer them. Well, what am I trying to say? Well, I'm trying to say that if I was writing about, I was writing about the hero's journey in True Story. I'm trying to say that the hero's journey maps easily on True Story because, and then just start going. And you'll find that when you do this technique and then you go to the engage in something, you really, really, really feel the relief. Now, if you're dealing with anxiety and you're not a writer, the E is engage, and he wants you to engage in an activity where you're physically moving if possible, like go for a walk, cook something, or maybe even call your friend, chat about something, clean up your room, fold your clothes, do your laundry, maybe watch something on TV. He wants you to engage in something, not sit there in silence. So meditation at this point would not be recommended. You want to engage in an activity. You could do yoga. I mean, the activity could have a meditative quality. So when you start engaging in something, it's kind of like the last rinse. Like if you ever, you wash your hair, you got to rinse it a couple of times. Finally, that last rinse, you know that all the soap is gone. The engage allows you to rinse the rest of it out. So this is one of the best techniques I have ever, it is the bomb diggity. It changed my life instantaneously. And here's the deal. I woke up this morning with anxiety, not a terrible bout of it, but I woke up and I felt, I got the little tightness. I have to do a lot of marketing this week for my business. Sometimes marketing actually does cause some anxiety. I also have to finish my last chapter of my book. And I was like, oh, wait, I have a technique. And I thought, thank God. It's doable. I can do this. And so the beautiful part about the DARE technique is it doesn't cost any money. I do recommend getting the book because the book explains it in much more detail for those people that are suffering from anxiety and panic attack. This book is phenomenal. But once you learn it, once you memorize it, you can take it anywhere with you at any time. And it only needs to take a few seconds. Once you get good at it, it doesn't really take that long. Okay, so here is the prompt for today. So the way we're doing our writing prompts from now on is I'm going to give you the prompt, and then I'm going to end the show with the prompt, and I'm going to encourage you to do it sometime today. I'm then going to do the prompt right after this Facebook Live, and then I'm going to go onto the thread, and I'm going to post my prompt. And I encourage everyone to share. If you don't want to share super publicly, I have a writers group, and it's called Write From Your Heart, and it's on Facebook. So if you want to join the writers group, go to Write From Your Heart, and then I will approve tell me where you found me. I found the writers group, I'll approve you, and then you can share in the writers group. It's a closed group, so it's a little more privacy. You have to be in the group in order to read stuff, and the group has wonderful writers in it. Okay, so for everybody out there, I hope you're having a great day. Here's your prompt. Dun, 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 dun. Now this is fun because you're going to scale yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your level of anxiety. Now, right now, obviously, I don't have a ton of anxiety, but I would say I have about a 4 over 5. Part of that is the excitement of being on Facebook Live, getting ready for the show. I get excited and it causes a little bit of anxiety. I like to say it's positive anxiety at that point. It's excitement. So on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your level of anxiety about life, about work, about your writing. Then take 15 minutes and write down all the things you're afraid of or anxious about in your life. Use simple words to describe these feelings. Don't try to be fancy. The simpler, the better. Then rate yourself again. Now, what I mean by that is they did studies that you cannot simultaneously write. This is true. Expressive writing is used in many hospitals now. Many psychologists use it. It's an amazing tool. Expressive writing simply means you're going to write your feelings down about how you feel about something. So I might say, I'm feeling fear. I'm having anxiety and feeling fear about my next marketing campaign. I'm having anxiety and fear about writing and finishing my book and publishing it out there. Or it could be, I'm having fear about, it could be your next, it could be a sporting event. It could be a public speaking event. It could be your relationship. You may have fear or have some anxiety around talking to your partner about something, or your best friend, or you might have some negative feelings or anxiety about something to do with your family, or it could be pain. You might have pain in your back, pain in your arm. You might have a headache. You can actually, when you write about your feelings, and it could be anything from fear, anxiety to pain, they found that it reduced the lighting up of the amygdala, which actually causes fight or flight and adds to your anxiety, doesn't light up as bright anymore around that subject. And that your fingers on this side, the left side, your left side of your brain doesn't light up as bright in terms of the fight or flight. And that there's a part of your right brain, it's a really long word that I don't know right now, lights up and it soothes immediately. So without doing anything, your subconscious mind and your brain immediately soothe the fear, the anxiety, or the pain. And you just feel better. And so it's a fun way to get something out of your, out of like sitting in your brain onto the page. So I have a great journal. I have, when I say a great journal, I have journals. I like this one because it says, "The earth laughs in flowers." And for those of you who know me, I love flowers. And so I just pick up my journal and I just start writing now all about my negative feelings. And you would think that writing about your negative feelings would produce negativity or these images. But actually, the irony is that it reduces the fear in the amygdala and it lights up the creative part of the brain and makes you feel better because it just takes out the sting on that. And by the way, I'm going to actually have a whole blog post on expressive writing and healing and health. So I'll be sure to post that on my page too so you can read that. All right, everybody, we're over a little bit of time, but I just got to go saying that I love you being out there. Thanks for listening. I hope you had fun with this one. And please share it and pass it on to anybody who's experiencing panic or anxiety. All right, see you next week. Bye.